Today, inshallah, we'll be looking at coherence and cohesion, but we'll be looking at something very specific with coherence and cohesion. Now, coherence and cohesion involves the organization of your ideas. It involves the organization of your paragraphs and your use of connecting words and phrases. Now, in this lesson, we're just going to be focusing on the use of connecting words and phrases, and we won't be focusing on the other points. We can do that hopefully in another lesson, inshallah. Now, we're going to look at today our types of connectors or types of linking words or transitional signals. There's different terminology, but you can call them whatever you want. We'll just call them linkers or connectors or something like that. Now, linking words are like signals on the road. They tell the reader where you're going. And we don't want the reader to be lost. In your essay, you don't want the examiner to be lost. You want the examiner to know where you're going, basically. Let's look at the different types of connectors, or the main types of connectors. The main type of connectors are connectors to introduce ideas, connectors to contrast ideas. So that's like, let's go back to introducing ideas. Can you give me just some examples of linking words we use to introduce similar ideas? Just put them in the chat box for a minute. Anybody? Okay, good. Good. All right, very good. Okay. All right, so these are linkers like firstly, secondly, in addition, moreover, finally. Okay, you get it. And then we also have linking words for contrast. And these are linking words for but and however. We've got explaining results, giving examples, introducing your opinion, and then drawing conclusions like to conclude, to sum up in conclusion. Now, there's so many different types of linkers. These are just the main ones that we use. In this lesson, we're just going to be focusing on introducing similar ideas. Oops, I scribbled on the screen, sorry. Okay, so we're just going to be looking at introducing similar ideas, the problems with these, and we're going to be looking at the differences between a band 6 and a band 7 in terms of cohesive devices or linking words. Now, why did I choose introducing similar ideas? And this is because in an IELTS essay, you will be asked to write about solutions, you'll be asked to write about causes, you'll be asked to write about advantages, disadvantages, reasons, and you need to introduce these ideas. Okay, and so we definitely have to use them in every single essay and use a few of them. Okay. All right, so here's the question. This is the question I get from, oh God, I need to remove that scribble on there. Hold on a second, please.
Clear all.
Yeah, clear all under annotate, right?
Annotate, yeah.
Clear, okay. Good, thanks. Okay. All right, so here's a question that I get from most of my students, and that's why, or what's the difference between a band 6 and a band 7? Why am I always stuck at a band 7? What's the reason? And I'm sure you must feel the same way. Some of you may have taken the exam several times and you're stuck at that band 6. And okay, so here's the reason. Okay, we're going to look at the typical problems or reasons why students are keep scoring the 6, and it's just very difficult for them to get a higher score than that. And there are 3 main problems, and remember, we're only looking at linking devices right now. Okay, so the 3 problems are overuse, okay, misuse, and inadequate range. And what do we mean by that? Overuse is when you use too many linking devices. Okay, and this could be a problem. I know that a lot of teachers will tell you you have to use linking devices, and I think a lot of students are over ambitious. They think that the more that they use, the higher score they'll get. The other problem is misuse. So using them incorrectly. And the third problem is inadequate range. Now, inadequate range, what most people understand is that I need to use a lot. And that's why they end up overusing linking words. But in fact, inadequate range has a different meaning. It means you have some flexibility. You know how to use different types of linkers, and you know, and you also position them in different places in the sentence. So they're not always placed at the beginning of the sentence. Remember, we can position linking words at the beginning of the sentence, in the middle of the sentence, and we also have some linkers that we can position at the end of the sentence. Okay, we'll be looking, so in this lesson, we'll be looking mainly at overuse, inadequate range. And if we have a bit of time, maybe we'll touch up a little bit on misuse, inshallah. All right, so most of you may be familiar with the band descriptors. So for coherence and cohesion, these are the differences between a band 5, a band 6, and a band 7. Okay, so this is what IELTS is looking for. Now, we're not going to go over all of this. I just want you to look at the red box under band 6. Okay? Under band 6, we've got uses cohesive devices effectively, but cohesion may be faulty or mechanical. So you do use cohesive devices, which are the linking words. You do use them well, but we've got some issues and they are mechanical. Now I'm going to explain mechanical in a minute. Now this is a very important word. Please make a note of it. We're going to explain it in a minute. Okay, now let's jump to band 7. Okay, the red box uses a range of cohesive devices, although there may be some underuse or overuse. Okay, so here's another important word, that's range. Okay, so the difference between the band 6 and the band 7, we could say in band 6, we've got faulty and mechanical cohesive devices. In band 7, we've got a range of cohesive devices. So it's okay, you can you can overuse them a little bit, maybe underuse them, but you do have that range, all right? Okay, so now let's look at mechanical. What does mechanical mean? Or what does mechanical mean in terms of linking words? What do you think? Just drop a line in the chat box. Or what do you see in the picture? No clue? Okay. Yes. Well, movement, yes. Movement. But when we say something is mechanical, it's repeating itself. So this machine just keeps going around and around and around. Okay. The meaning here is that you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. Okay. How is that related to linking words? How is it related? Here we've got using linkers like a machine. So that's got two meanings. Either you're using a linker in almost every sentence, okay? Or when you use a linker, you're always positioning it at the start of the sentence. So this is what using linkers like a machine. You've got either the linker is always at the beginning, or your linkers are always positioned, or sorry, you're using them in every single sentence. Sorry, I'm getting a bit confused here. Okay, now let's look at some examples of this. Now I want you to be the examiners, all right? Now, this is the paragraph that we just looked at earlier, that Safwan looked at earlier about sports professionals. Okay, I just made a few minor changes to it, but I think this is homework from last week or the week before, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Now you'll notice I've numbered the sentences. There are 7 sentences in this paragraph. And I don't want you to read the paragraph. We already went through this, okay? But I want you to notice how many linkers do we have at the beginning of the sentence. Any answers? You can put them in the chat box. Oh, I actually missed one. There are 8 actually sentences in this paragraph. Sorry.
No. You have a number 2 next to a word that's not a linker, doesn't? So it should
okay. I messed up a little. Okay, I messed up a little bit. Okay, so there are 7 sentences in this paragraph, and there are 6 linkers in the paragraph, and they all start at the beginning of the sentence. And it's not just that, they're all the same type. So on the one hand, and then we've got comma. Firstly, comma. However, comma. Also, comma. Secondly, comma. For instance, comma. Finally, comma. Sorry, I repeated that so many times. I just really want you to get this. Okay. Now, the examiner doesn't even need to read the paragraph. If they just notice that the candidate is using the linking words at the beginning of every sentence, the maximum you can get for coherence and cohesion is going to be a band 6. It'll depend on other mistakes that you may make. So if you made some other mistakes, it would probably be a band 5. Okay, so there are no mistakes in linkers here, but it's just considered overuse, and then there isn't the flexibility, there isn't that range. Okay. Okay, let's look at another example now. Let me just check the chat quickly. Yeah, it looks like my style. Well, I'll be honest with you, it's most people's style. And I think it's just because teachers and even course books, you have to use linking words, and they give you a list of all these linking words. You need to put these linking words in there. Okay. Okay, good. Move on. Okay, here's another example, band 6 paragraph. Oh, sorry. Here's another example, and I'll give you a minute to read this one, and you can write your comments in the chat box. Just don't take too long reading it. Yes, too many linkers used. Good, okay. What about the linkers that are used? Actually, no misuse of linkers. They're all used accurately here. Okay, the linkers are all, well, out of the 5 linkers, 4 of them are actually the same structure. So it's linking word, comma, linking word, comma, linking word, comma, linking word, comma. Apart from although, okay? Now, although has a different structure to the other linkers in this paragraph. Although links to clauses. So we've got the first clause, then we've got the comma, and then we've got the second clause. So this is what we mean by range. However, and although are contrast linkers, and they have a very similar meaning, they both are used to give different ideas or opposite ideas, but the structure of the linking word is different. Okay, so this is what I want you to pay attention to. It's not just using a lot of linkers, and it's not just using different types of linkers, but you want to make sure that the structure of the linkers are also different and they're not all the same. Using linkers at the beginning of the word and then just putting a comma after that doesn't show that you've got the range, doesn't show that you've got flexibility. Okay? Okay, all right. Shall we move on? Okay. Okay, here is a higher band scoring paragraph. It's the same one, I think, right? It talks about the same point, but this paragraph score much higher. I'm going to give you a minute to read this, and then a minute to write your marks in the to write your comments in the chat box. Okay, those of you who have finished reading, can you put some of your comments, please? Okay, good. Effective use of linkers. Good. Okay. Why are they effective? Okay, there's a variety. Yes. Okay. Natural flow. Good. Do you see any firstly, secondlies, and additions, moreover, furthermore? Okay, good. Good. I like this point. The main difference, this Julian mentioned, the main difference is that you are using linkers in a more natural flow. Yes, it isn't natural to be using firstly, secondly, finally. Native speakers don't write like this. Okay, they don't even speak like that either. Okay, and these firstly, secondly, finally, in addition, are considered simple linkers as well. I'm not saying you shouldn't use them. You can use them, but you've got to use them with other linkers as well. Okay. Okay. Good. Now you may also notice. Okay. That let me get my spotlight. Okay. You'll also notice that we've got, for example, here as a result of, and we've got resulting in. So although they're both results, they're used differently. The structure is different, okay? They're not used at the beginning of the sentence. And here we've got as a result of motorists, and here we've got resulting in. So that's also something you need to keep in mind, okay? We've got this nice linker here to make matters worse. That's another addition linker. Instead of saying like finally or in addition, this is when we're talking about something negative, okay? We can use a linker like this, okay? Increase your word count as well. Okay, all right, let's move on. Okay, so now how can we make our linkers more sophisticated and get us a higher band score? Okay, so on the screen here, we've got linkers that you can use to introduce your ideas. Remember, we need to write about solutions and causes and advantages and disadvantages. So you need to introduce your main ideas. Oh, what's your solution? What do you think is the first advantage? What do you think is the second advantage? So we can use phrases like these to tell the examiner or the reader, okay, now I'm going to mention an advantage. Now I'm going to mention the second advantage, okay? All right, so here's some phrases that we can use. We've got one of the major causes of climate change is global warming, for example. The main or principal benefit, we don't use both of these together. So the main benefit, let's say, of traveling abroad is learning a new language. Okay? Now, this is when you're going to introduce your first idea. We use phrases like these for the first idea. And then when you're going to introduce a second or an additional idea, you can use phrases that are similar to these. So one possible solution is, or one possible cause is, okay? Another disadvantage or another advantage, another benefit, another reason, okay? All right. Another factor contributing to climate change is global warming. So basically, you don't need to learn so many phrases. You just need to learn 2 or 3 phrases, and you need to learn how to use them well. Okay. Now, this is just in general. Let's look at more specific phrases that we can use. Let's look at specific phrases that we use for solutions, introducing solutions. So it's quite common in IELTS to be given a problem, and then they'll ask you to write solutions. And here we've got some phrases that we can use to express our solutions. And we've got the first one. This problem could be addressed by creating more jobs. One way to tackle this issue is to create more jobs. The way forward might be to create more jobs. A possible solution is to create more jobs. So basically, you've got these phrases here that are used to, these are introductory phrases to introduce your main ideas. So remember, your main ideas need to be ready, and this is something you need to prepare beforehand. So before you start writing, you need to have your main ideas ready. remember, you only need two main ideas, two solutions, two advantages, two causes. You don't really need more than that. Okay, so if you learned three of these phrases and you learn how to use them well with the grammar, okay, that's all you need, instead of using firstly, secondly, in addition, and finally. Okay, let's look at some example sentences using these introductory phrases. All right. Okay, so we've got solutions to water shortage. So the essay is asking you to write your solutions to water shortage. And here is the first sentence. So this is my first solution. One possible way to tackle this problem is by educating people to use less water at home. So in blue here, this is my introductory phrase. And in the gray here, that's my main idea. So remember, the main idea was ready beforehand. Before you started writing, you had your main idea, which is educating people to use less water. Okay. Now, here's my second solution, and I'm going to use a different phrase. Another approach that should be considered is repairing old water pipes. Again, this here is my introductory phrase to tell the reader, to signal to the reader, all right, I'm going to give you another solution now. Okay, and this is my main idea, repairing old water pipes. This here not only signals to the reader that what you're going to do, but it also makes your main ideas clear to the examiner. Oh, okay, these are the main ideas, because the examiner will be looking for main ideas, and that's the main ideas are assessed under task response, which is answering the question properly. So the examiner will be looking for those main ideas, and these phrases will help the examiner find them easily. Okay, now there's something else that we can do. We can also swap these around. So we can swap the gray with the blue. We can swap the main idea with the introductory phrase, and we're going to see that on the next slide. All right, so what did we do here? We started with the main idea, educating people to use less water at home is one possible way to tackle this problem. Okay, and then we did the same thing in the next sentence. We swapped the main idea with the introductory phrase. And this is good because it also shows the examiner variety. You know how to do it both ways. So possibly for your first solution, you can put the introductory phrase first, and then in your second solution you can put the introductory phrase second, or maybe in your second body paragraph you do the opposite or something like that. But that would also show flexibility and variety. Okay. Okay, now let's compare these two sentences. Let's compare what a band 6 student would write with a higher band, what a higher band student would write. So here we've got a band 6 student who starts his paragraph like this. Firstly, the government should educate people to use less water at home. This is typical of band 6, and there's nothing wrong here. It's just a very simple linker. Okay, and you'll notice that even the sentence that follows afterward is actually quite a simple sentence. You know, we've got the government, that's the subject, and we've got the verb phrase. There's nothing complicated about it. Okay, the second sentence here, it starts with the green. We've got our sophisticated introductory phrase. One possible way to tackle this problem is by educating people to use less water at home. Now, this would be considered a higher band score for coherence and cohesion, as well as for grammar, because there's a lot more grammar involved in this sentence. Okay, let's look at the second idea, which is repairing old water pipes. So our band 6 student is going to say, in addition, or second, it's important to repair old water pipes. So this is another band 6 sentence, but the higher scoring band student is going to flip the main idea with the introductory sentence. Repairing old water pipes is another approach that should be considered. All right, good. Now, do we have any questions here specifically about this before we move on? Because I'm going to ask you to practice now, to try to write some sentences. Okay, so let me look at these just a minute, read what's
Yes,
up
Saeed,
here.
you have your hand raised. If you can type your question, please.
These linkers, okay, so Manahil says these linkers are phrases. Yes, they are phrases. They're longer, they're more complex, they're more sophisticated than firstly, secondly, finally. So linkers can be one word, they can be two words, they can be phrases, okay? Can we use these in extent essays? To what extent do you agree? Yes, we can use these. The examples that I gave now are specifically for solution essays, but we can do the same thing because to what extent essays, they'll be asking you for reasons. So the main reason why, another possible reason is, okay? So there are specific phrases that we can use for giving reasons as well, okay? And yes, I think that Safwan will probably send you this recorded session, right? You'll be sending it, Safwan, right?
Yeah, I'll be sending this one because of the corrected essays.
Okay. Mm.
Yeah, I just don't want students to rely on recordings, otherwise we won't have a good short.
Okay, good. Okay, so all right, and let's see. I never know. All right, good. Okay, so now let's move on. So now it's your turn to practice. Okay. To practice. Okay, solutions to traffic in cities. And I'm sure many of you live in major cities and there's lots and lots of traffic. So I'm sure you have your ideas about solutions to traffic. But to save time, I've put up the solutions here for you. Okay, so we've got improve the public transportation system, and we've got widening roads, building more bridges, encouraging carpooling, and implementing adaptive traffic lights or smart traffic lights. Okay, so these are my ideas. You might have other better ideas. Okay? Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to introduce your solutions to these to the problem of traffic in cities using these main ideas. Remember, in the essay, you only need 2. So if you can just write 1 or 2 right now, that's all I need. Okay, and I'm going to put the phrases up here for you. Okay, so you've got the phrases here, and you've got the main ideas here, and now it's not as easy as ABC, or it's not as easy as linking them together. You need to make sure that your grammar is accurate. So what do we usually use after by? So in this sentence, what would we need to use? What would be the grammar to use after by? You can put your answers in the chat box. Mm-hmm. Yes, a gerund or ing, a verb ing. Good. So you need to pay attention to these. Okay, good. So I'll give you the first one. So this problem could be addressed by improving the public transportation system. That's it. Okay. Now, when you introduce your main ideas, your sentence should not be very long because it needs to be clear to the examiner, this is my main idea. Okay, it doesn't need to be complicated. You don't need to extend it. You need to then develop the main idea in the next sentences. Okay, so it's kind of like a topic sentence, and topic sentences don't need to be too long. They should be short and concise. Okay, all right, so it's your turn now. Type a sentence or 2 using these phrases and these ideas. All right, I'll give you about a minute and I'll have a look at them. I might not be able to correct everything, but I'll do my best. Good. Okay, Julian, yes, that's correct. It's perfect. Okay, and then Satish, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. One way to tackle this issue is by making roads. Okay, we don't make roads, we build roads or we construct roads. So they don't, making roads don't collocate together. Okay. Okay, Saeed, all right. To alleviate traffic congestion is possibly by refurbishing old roads. Okay, so here can you start your sentence, Saeed, with a gerund? So instead of the two, can we say like alleviating traffic congestion is possible by refurbishing old roads. We don't refurbish old roads. We construct or we build, okay? Yes, this problem could be addressed by introducing new traffic rules. Very good. And Suran, dealing with this issue involves implementing, can you continue? Yeah, but implementing is correct. Another way to solve this problem is by encouraging carpooling. Good. I know you're typing really quickly, but make sure that the first letter of the sentence is always capital, okay? You need to practice doing that all the time so that in your exam, you get it right. Another possible solution is to widen roads, okay? Good. Okay, thanks everybody, okay? We're gonna move on to the next slide because we're running out of time. Okay, so we looked at introductory phrases for introducing solutions, and now we're gonna look at advantages and disadvantages, how to introduce an advantage, how to introduce a disadvantage, okay? We'll be mainly looking at advantages. Okay, now again, what I've done here is I've given you the main ideas or my main ideas for the advantages of studying abroad. And we've got a better education, have better career opportunities, experience a new culture, learn a new language, become more independent, and make lifelong friends. Okay, so remember in the exam, you just need to write 2, okay? Okay, and now we're gonna look at a band 6 paragraph. So what's a band 6 candidate did to answer this question, to answer the advantages of studying abroad. And I'll let you read it. And as you'll notice, the linking words are the beginning of almost every sentence. And they're very simple. We've got firstly, secondly, finally, in addition, okay? Now, but I also want you to read it to possibly notice another problem. Okay, now this problem is actually not related to coherence and cohesion. Okay, so just a minute to read it and make some notes in the chat. How much time do I have left, Safwan?
Yeah, it's all right. We could probably keep it going for a bit.
I just need another 5 minutes, I think. Okay, so you've got okay, good. So we've got the right answer from Satish, I'm very sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, okay? These are only ideas, none of them are developed. You've only so this candidate only introduced ideas, and this is the problem with these addition linkers, firstly. Secondly, in addition, moreover, the students want to use them, and they end up writing all these ideas without developing them. Okay, good, very, okay. So remember, just choose 2, and these 2 should be ready before you start writing, okay, and you write about them. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide, and in the next slide, we've got introductory phrases to introduce your advantages, okay? And I've actually divided this into 2. We've got introductory phrases to introduce the first advantage that you're going to talk about, and phrases to use to introduce the additional advantages, okay? Okay, so this is a very good one to use. By far the most important advantage of studying abroad is learning a new language, okay? Or you could use perhaps the most significant benefit is learning a new language. You can put of in there, but you don't want to be repeating of studying abroad all the time, okay? So here we've got the sentences for introducing the first one. You only need to use this once, okay? And then in this second box, you would use it once or twice, depending on if you've got 2 advantages or, like I said, you just need 2, okay? So your homework, because we're running out of time, is to rewrite this band 6 sentence we've got over here, the band 6 paragraph, okay, into a higher band scoring paragraph using these introductory linkers or phrases. Okay, now just because you know these phrases, you're familiar with them, you've seen examples of them, doesn't mean that you're actually going to get them right. You do need somebody to read your essays, correct them, give you feedback on it, because I've seen students who do use them, but they make mistakes, and you do need that feedback. You need someone to correct you, to tell you if you're using them accurately or not, because then otherwise you'll just be losing marks for grammar, and we don't want that to happen. So learn one of these phrases and learn 2 of these phrases, learn how to use them correctly, and you don't need to learn all of them. Okay? Let's see what's in the chat. What do we have here? Okay, sorry, nothing here. Okay, good. So that's your homework. Something to keep you busy. Okay. And we're going to, well, actually, maybe I won't show you this. So it's your homework, so we're not going to look at this. Okay. If you want to bear with me for 5 more minutes, I prepared something just in case. Saeed, do we need to rewrite all ideas? No. You just write it in your own ideas. It's just homework to write a paragraph on the advantages of studying abroad. That's it. Okay? Okay, so can you give me 5 more minutes? Okay, so that's 1 yes. Are we going to get any more yeses? Okay. All right. No, I won't go on for 2 hours, just 5 more minutes. Okay. Now we looked at introductory phrases, and we looked at introductory phrases for solutions and for advantages. Now, most of the advantages the introductory phrases we used for advantages could also be used for disadvantages. Okay. Now, I want to go back a little bit when we went back and we talked about linkers like firstly, secondly, finally. I just want to reiterate that it's okay to use them. Just don't overuse them. We can use firstly. Okay? Mix it up with another introductory phrase. You can use in addition. It's fine. Okay? It's natural, but just don't overuse them. But I do have a problem with one linker. I don't personally have a problem, but this is a problem that many candidates make, and it's using the word moreover. So here we've got a paragraph that talks about reasons for the increase in road accidents. And yes, it's not very well developed. It uses linking words at the beginning of the sentence, but I want to show you that there is another problem here with moreover. So here in this sentence, moreover is used incorrectly. And just read the paragraph, and I'd like to see if any of you are aware of why moreover is used incorrectly here. Okay, very good. So excellent, Saeed. You said that it is not related to the previous idea. Exactly. Moreover is not used to introduce a new idea. It's used to give more information about the previous idea, or to give more important information about the previous idea. Okay? And here we've got, when we have furthermore, drink driving is on the rise, especially during weekends and holidays. So this sentence here is talking about drink driving, it mentions weekends and holidays. But this sentence here that starts with moreover doesn't mention it, doesn't give any more explanation or information or develop more on drink driving or weekends and holidays. It goes on to talk about another new idea, saying that commuters are stressed and so they end up driving too fast, they don't pay attention. So it's not related to the previous point. It's a new idea. And we don't use moreover that way. We can put in addition here or additionally, that's fine. Okay, but we can't use moreover. Okay, now I'll just move on to the next slide and we'll explain it a little bit more. Okay, so how do we use moreover? Okay, moreover is used to add something. Okay, all right, and it's used to give more information about the previous point. It's not used to introduce a new point. Okay, so we can't replace it with an addition. We can't replace it with furthermore. Okay, so if you're not sure how to use it, just don't use it. But don't put it in there, because almost every essay I've seen has the word moreover in it, and it's always used incorrectly. If you can use it correctly, that's great. The examiners will notice, okay? But if you're not sure of how to use it, just don't. Use an addition, use something else. All right? Okay, I think, yeah, we've got one more example here. Okay, and just read this paragraph and let me know if it's used correctly or incorrectly. Okay, for those of you who've read it, what do you think? Good, very good. It's used correctly. It is correct because it's adding more information about the point of building more bridges. So when we build more bridges, this would result in less congestion. And what would be the result of less congestion? So it's less congestion and less noise pollution. So it's not introducing a new idea, it's not introducing another solution, it's giving more information about the previous point. Okay, very good, good, excellent, you're really good students. Okay, all right, here's one more. This is about the disadvantages of advertising. So we've got two paragraphs. So one of them is correct and one of them is incorrect. You've got 1 minute, or actually 40 seconds, because we're really over the time. Oh, this is disadvantages of advertising, not advantages, sorry. Excellent. Good, you've got it. That's great. One is correct. Good. All right. I'm not going to explain this because you've got it. And that brings us to, I think, that brings us to the end of the session. And 1 minute for questions, but they need to be related to what we've done. No questions? All right, fantastic, great. I hope that means that you understood the lesson well. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. It was a pleasure being on here, and thank you, Safwan, for giving me this opportunity. I really enjoyed teaching you today, and I hope to see you in another session, inshallah, possibly next week. Next week, right, Safwan?
Yes, yes. I'm going to discuss timing for the next lesson, God willing. And I'm going to send an email regarding how to respond to the homework and so on.